Hi, I'm Kim Dykstra with the Town of Breckenridge. I'm here with the Town Council update of November 11th, 2014. For Town Council minutes, agendas, you can also listen to our meetings. We have our minutes actually online now, so you can listen to what's happening in the meetings after the event. It's not live. Please go to our website at townofbreckenridge.com. There you'll find a lot of information, a lot of reports, our new budget that we're proposing for 2015, as you'll hear from Tim Gagan. We hope that you'll get involved with the Town of Breckenridge and check out us on the website, or we have a Facebook page and as Twitter. First of all, let's hear from Tim Gagan for the November 11th Town Council meeting. So Tim, at the November 11th, which was Veterans Day, the mayor actually opened it up, both the work session and the evening session, with a quiet moment to commemorate
our veterans.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But we also had the budget. So
yes.
Budget 2015 was our first reading, and you did such an eloquent job of letting everyone know what were kind of the highlights of the 2015 budget, including the water rates and the mill levy.
Right. This is our annual process where we adopt the budget. We had a public hearing. Unfortunately, not many people showed up to comment on it, which is a little disappointing, but this is a result of our budget retreat a couple weeks ago. The 2015 budget, the highlights are our general fund, which is all the town operations pretty much, is pretty much the same as last year, pretty flat. We have revenue is about the same, and expenses will be about the same, and we have some enhancements related to a lot of the new facilities we've been putting on board. The new buildings in the Arts District all require maintenance, so we have a little bit of staffing change in Public Works. And we've also very fortunately got a grant from one of the federal programs to hire an officer that'll be paid almost half of it for the next 3 years by a grant. So those are about the only real significant changes in the general fund, other than we have made a fairly significant shift of our arts and culture activities. What used to be in the town budget, which were the Riverwalk Center, the Arts District, Speakeasy Theater, all those type of things, are now being moved into a separate budget, and we call it special projects. The town will still be a significant funder of those activities, but it is the new effort to really raise the profile of arts and culture in Breckenridge. And the town is going to invest an additional $500,000 in that operation in 2015 to really raise the bar, we hope, of a lot of new activities at different times of the year, particularly shoulder seasons, that our new arts and culture nonprofit is going to be overseeing, along with our director, Rob Wolf, who we hired this year. That's probably the biggest change operationally. The water is the other biggie. We had a lot of public hearings earlier this year with our public about the potential for a new plant. And we got a lot of great support from the community indicating that our reasoning behind the new plant and why we need it is good reasoning, but it is not cheap. So it's a $30 million project that we're looking down the road probably in the next 2 to 3 years to get completed. So what we did was look at the rate structure of the current water utility. Normally, rates don't change very much, maybe 1% every year. But for this year, we decided the council is looking at raising the rates by about 5%. Not very much, but it is still the first step to try to start preparing for having enough revenue to support that new plant, both the debt service that we'll do along with the capital cost and the operational cost. We also did some other adjustments to what we call our tap fees. This is really new construction, so new construction is intended to pay some part of the capital cost, and so they'll be going up a little higher than what we would normally do, closer to 10%. And we're also going to be looking at a little bit of what we call the excess charge. This is where if a person uses more water than the average, some of these tends to happen when they're watering, that excess charge is applied. Well, the excess charge is a way to encourage people to conserve. So the excess charge will also go up a little bit and continue to help people focus on their use of water. But it really prepares the utility really well for this new project that we have coming down the road. A couple other highlights, the council also authorized additional funding into the marketing program. This is money we give to the Go Breck organization that brings visitors to our community. They've been very successful, and based on a plan that the Go Breck laid out to the council, we're authorizing an additional almost $700,000 going into that fund to continue to promote the town and to raise the lodging and occupancy of our bed base and our market share, which is considered the main benchmark that people compare other resorts to. That'll be another investment. Probably the biggest discussion was around our childcare program. As most of the community knows, we were unsuccessful in getting a ballot question approved that would have generated a revenue stream long-term for the childcare. So the council for the last year, along with the task force, has been looking at that program. There's still great support for doing it, but they would like to see it improved. So there's a report coming out shortly about how we can improve that program, maybe be more efficient. And then the second part is there, between the marijuana fund, which we collect some taxes for, and some other funds that were left in the child care fund, the council is going to continue to fund that program for a year or two while they make some long-term decisions about how to support that program. The rest of our budgets were pretty stable. The open space fund is in very good shape. They'll continue to do acquisitions and maintenance of trails, and they'll be an active participant in a big project called the Blue River Restoration, which is down by Coin Valley Road, right behind that, basically the dugout area. We call it the mining area that the town owns there. And then the golf fund is also looking at a fairly big project. We've been setting aside money in the fund that will be used to rebuild the original 18 holes with new irrigation system. And that'll be wholly cash funded, so we won't have to borrow any money. And that'll be done in 2016, but all the design will get done in 2015. And then, of course, we always have our capital. The capital is always an important component of our budget. During the recession, we had to cut that way back. Now that we're out of the recession, and now that the real estate transfer tax in particular has recovered, we're now, in addition to investing like we had the last couple of years in these new buildings and facilities to move those ahead quicker, we're also going to be looking at a lot of infrastructure next year. The Blue River being one of them. Our roads are going to have a lot of paving program, our curb and gutter program, heated sidewalks downtown, which is a continuation of those areas where we have a steep grade to make them safer. So a whole variety of infrastructure type things to the tune of about $7 million. The Blue River being the biggest chunk of that, about $2 million. So a lot of activity next year, but fortunately our revenue streams look very good, and we have continue to have very solid reserves. And so a little bit of this will be using some of those reserves to continue to invest in improving the community.
Great. It's
Oh, and I probably ought to mention the mill levy.
Oh, right, the mill
Good
levy,
news,
right.
there's
Yes.
no change in property tax.
Yeah.
Our property tax is down at 5.07 mills, which is a very low mill rate compared to a lot of our other communities throughout Colorado. And this mill rate will generate about $2 million in revenue for the budget, which is a fairly small chunk of the budget. But it does, because of the drop in assessed value, people will either see no increase in tax or a lowering of potentially other taxes.
And you mentioned the water rates. I've heard historically that the town's water rates are below market, maybe before front range, and even up in our area up
Definitely
here.
from the front range. We're much lower, and generally from our mountain communities, because our system is fairly old and has been funded for a number of years, our rates are in what we call the lower tier of rates. So we believe there is room for improving those, but also it will allow us to do this new water plant without having to incur very large rate increases, which we're very happy about.
Great, great. It's a great blueprint to go forward for 2015.
Yeah. And it's on our website, so folks are invited, and we'll have another public hearing in November 25th at our council meeting for any other input we can receive from the public.
Great, great. You mentioned marijuana, and I know that there is an election. There's a special election coming up that the ballots are actually going to be mailed out on the 17th of November, and they have to be returned by 7 o'clock on Tuesday, December 9th. And so basically, this marijuana licensing code amendment doesn't have anything to do with it other than, at this point, we are not allowing any new licenses to come into our community.
Right. Yeah, the state, the way they did the original licensing, they basically allowed anybody that had a current medical marijuana license to apply for a retail license. And in our case, there were 5. So those have been operating. But they basically froze any other licenses until January of 2015. Well, now with the ballot question hanging out there and a decision about Do we cap how many we have? That kind of discussion that hasn't been resolved by the council. And we have people starting to knock at the door saying, boy, after January, we may want to put in our application for a retail establishment. The council wants to buy themselves some time, so they're going to put a moratorium for an additional 6 months through July of 2015 to give them time to digest what happens with the ballot question and have this discussion about how many retail marijuana shops should we really have in town. And then they can lift the moratorium or put whatever other restrictions they want to do. So this ordinance will essentially extend the current prohibition from any new licenses until that July date.
Right. And it's also, the current local operators right now, it's good for them to kind of get a feel for what's going on here as well. So it's also a nod to our current people that have walked through this process with us already.
Been with us for a while.
Exactly. Public projects updates, we have one of those every town council meeting. The highlight of this one is the Breckenridge Grand Vacations Community Center, a very, very big project, and a few delays here and there.
Yep, not unexpected with that large of a project, but actually they're getting to the finishing line, as we call it. But the finishing line has a lot of little, it's kind of like that checklist that you have in your house when you buy your house. Did everything get done? That's where they're at. And obviously the library has to move in. We have the Speakeasy Theater that we're working very hard to get open before Christmas. So the end product is that based on where the contractors are with all the different work, we're looking now at a January, possibly early to mid-January grand opening for the whole facility, which means everything will be up and operating. And we're kind of excited because it would be nice to have the Speakeasy in there before Christmas. Library will be setting up for a few weeks, and then hopefully they'll be open before the grand opening and work out the kinks.
Probably do a little soft opening,
soft
perhaps.
Opening,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so you can come in and get your books
Yes,
early.
exactly, exactly.
So all those are leading to the fact that we're getting close to the end, but it's going to be January before we're really ready. And we'll be announcing in a firm date for the grand opening, probably in December.
Right. Yep. Okay, great. One of the other construction projects I think that you had mentioned in our capital is we have a new park that we're doing on North Main, and we went to the community to engage Breck and asked them if they had some ideas for names of the park. And we got a wide variety, I might add, of it. There will actually be a statue there that's been donated by the Dudek family.
That's correct.
That will actually depict the story of Tom's baby. Which is
the big nugget.
The big nugget.
Which I guess isn't a nugget, it's just a big chunk of gold.
It's a large chunk of gold, but it was the largest found in Colorado. And it's a pretty significant story of our history, of our timeline here in Breckenridge. And so we wanted to kind of also tie that into the name of the park. And the council finally came up with
Prospector Park.
Prospector Park.
It interestingly has a nice link. It has a link not only to the mining history and the Tom's Baby statue or sculpture that will be in the park, but Edwin Carter Museum, which is just up above it, he was a prospector along with being a naturalist. So the council, after looking at all the different ideas, came together on that name as probably the most representative of our long history, though certainly we had some great ideas for other individuals along with Euler. I mean, you name it, a lot of names came forward from our community, which shows people are, I think, kind of excited about the opening of that park. So we'll name it that, and so it'll be ready to be named officially when we finish it up in the spring.
Yep, great, it'll be fun. And then also the council is very excited to be working on the next phase of our, what I would call workforce housing that we're going to be doing. It's a rental project.
Right.
We have Pinewood 1 that's been in existence for
20
plus years.
Yep.
And so this Pinewood 2 is very exciting because we're starting to really feel the pinch for the rental market.
Right, and this is property that we acquired, and actually the county helped us, a great partnership there, to acquire this property from the Forest Service last almost 2 years ago now. And in between time, we've been looking at our housing needs, and the rental has come up as the highest need, and anybody that's looking at workforce out there right now knows people are scrambling to find some place to rent, and particularly at affordable rent, and that's what our program is all about. Pinewood 1 has worked fabulously. So now Pinewood 2 is getting through its second iteration. We had a larger project that met with some resistance along with some funding issues. So now we're on a little smaller project, about 45 units, looking very sharp in the early depictions, but it has to go through the planning process. And the council was very excited. This is really going to continue to move our affordable housing effort forward and offer more opportunities, even though it's only 45 units, to more of our workforce and for folks that are in need of income restricted housing.
Great. Okay. Well, hopefully people will come to the next meeting so they can
Talk about the budget.
talk about the budget. So thanks,
Or
Tim.
certainly they can come and check out our
exactly.
website and check with staff too.
Definitely. Great. Thanks. And there you have it. Lots going on at the Town Council meeting in November. We have our next Town Council meeting on the 4th Tuesday of the month, which is November 25th. Just as a reminder, we only have one meeting in December, so we're down to the last two Town Council meetings coming up November 25th and then again on December 13th. This next one will have the second and final public meeting for our 2015 budget, which is actually kind of the framework and the blueprint for what we do for the next year. So please check it out online at www.townofbreckenridge.com. And we look forward to seeing you here at our next Town Council meeting. The work session begins at 3 p.m. and then the evening meeting, complete with public comment, begins at 7:30 here at the Council Chambers in Breckenridge Town Hall. I look forward to seeing you at a future Town Council meeting and hope you have a great holiday season.